We're right in the midst of when a ton of stuff is coming out here over the course of the next couple of weeks, and today we ended up getting our first gameplay look at the campaign of Call of Duty Vanguard. But in that, we actually got a little bit shown off that may pertain to things like multiplayer and maybe even the future of Warzone that you may want to know about. Today, we're going to break down everything you need to know here out of Opening Night Live and Gamescom 2021 with what was shown off with Vanguard. So that said, as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. Is there anything in particular you're looking forward to here at Vanguard that we know of right now? Anything maybe not so much, whatever the case may be, let me know your thoughts down below. But as well, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like down below. Let's aim for 1,000 likes here on this video. And of course, if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Call of Duty Vanguard, both coming up this week with the alpha and going further into the future. There is so much stuff here you guys do not want to miss, so stick it here on the channel. That said, let's jump right into the discussion at hand. So earlier today, as a part of Opening Night Live for Gamescom here in 2021, we ended up getting a lot of things shown off in terms of really cool games coming out throughout the industry, from very soon to a little further off down the line. But what was shown off for Call of Duty was actually something that maybe not many had expected, or maybe did, but not in the same sort of content. What I mean by that is that we ended up getting a new campaign teaser, and we normally end up getting campaign teasers at Gamescom. That's not something that's new. Last year, we ended up getting one of the first missions from Black Ops Cold War shown off here at that, the intro cutscene for it. But what I mean is kind of surprising is that we got something that was brand new here for this one. I had just personally assumed that we'd be shown the same mission that was shown behind closed doors at the pre-reveal press briefing a few weeks back. Show off that D-Day mission where you start by falling out of the sky behind enemy lines, then need to end up sneaking your way around some German forces. But this was an entirely different and new campaign mission that we ended up learning about, instead following our character Polina. Now, what I like about this though is, number one, it's an entirely different mission. We got more information now about the world that they're setting up here within Vanguard, and two, this was an extended look. It's not just a simple 3 to 4 minute gameplay tease or an intro cutscene like we've gotten in the past. This thing was nearly 10 minutes long, so you got a really good look at one of the upcoming levels, how the movement looks, how the game itself looks with the world around it, some of the weapon and gunplay, but we got a lot more than maybe anticipated here out of Opening Night Live today. In this though, we ended up actually learning a little bit about some interesting focal points I want to break down a little further here in this video that pertain to actual gameplay mechanics and some things that we're seeing for the first time a little bit more in depth, those being takedowns, blind fire, and the moving mounting mechanic here at this. Now, takedowns, these look to be returning slightly from the emphasis on them from Cold War this past year. Of course, we had our takedowns in terms of assassinations and things like that with Modern Warfare, but we ended up seeing that this was actually something you could do in Cold War as well. But also with this Vanguard gameplay showcase, it doesn't seem like there's the additional mechanics shown off where you can use those enemies as a shield before the takedown is finished off here. I thought that was a cool touch here, being able to kind of maybe get yourself out of a pinch situation here in Cold War's campaign with that feature, but that doesn't seem to be returning. Now, those are smaller scale, but when it comes to the things like blind fire and the moving mounting, that's something we've heard rumored for quite some time. We saw some teases and gameplay trailers that have come out in the past week and a half here or so, but this is our first real true look at it from a first-person perspective, how we as the player will be able to interact with this kind of stuff coming in the upcoming year. Now, the blind fire seems to be initiated by when you're close enough to cover that you're behind. All you have to do is hit your right stick and then it will pop you up into this blind fire mechanic in which it tightens the hip fire spread, but isn't quite as accurate or precise as aiming down sights. So kind of a middle ground between a full-on hip fire and then just ADSing, where you have that two extremes of you're either very on target or you're not really all that much. Now, I personally envision this a lot as just a mechanic being built out for suppressing or cover fire, a way to sort of deter any head-on attack and move from location to location, but what do I know? That's just my guess here at this. But in this clip, we do see that it's fairly accurate, though we'll come back to that in a second. So it's interesting to say the least here in the capacity that we saw it with this clip. Now, the moving mounting we end up seeing a few seconds later, in which this seems to be able to be done on horizontal cover. I can't imagine that we'll be ending up seeing this utilized in, say, vertical cover, where you can kind of go up and down door frames maybe. I can't really see that happening unless you go from like a standing to a crouch position. That's the only thing that I could really maybe see is applicable with that, but more so for that horizontal, you can then slightly move and shift your positioning here instead of being completely stationary as you were within Modern Warfare. So a sort of engine upgrade, if you want to call it that, from what we saw built upon Modern Warfare 2019's base experience here at this. Now, these things all seem to be tactical in nature. Personally, I think they're kind of gimmicky. I don't really care for mounting. I don't care for this blind fire technique right out of the gate here. Again, as I'm going to say every time we see stuff like this and before we get any hands-on, I obviously can't judge anything officially until I've played it. I can't tell you exactly how I feel because, well, it's not in my hands. I haven't actually experienced how this plays in a gameplay setting. But I'll be honest with you, man, the blind fire in particular, seeing the effectiveness of the camera, a little worried about that one. The mobile mounting, not so much. Mobile mounting, there aren't too many terribly long surfaces, if you ask me, from what we've seen in the past. And truth be told, it could turn out to be just more of like an intuitive mounting where you have instead right now in Modern Warfare, you can often pop into a mount and it will just take you to like the entirely different side of where you were trying to look. So maybe just ironing out some of the issues with that here, and it's really not all that bad. And again, with surfaces probably not being too terribly long, I don't necessarily care for this mechanic, but I don't think it'll be too much of a problem. The blind fire mechanic, though, that truthfully, I think if anything, this will be more annoying than anything else if it's one-to-one from what we've seen in the campaign so far. I'm sure that I'm not the only one you're going to hear this from here, but in core, with a sort of mid-ground between ADS precision and then the hip fire sort of spread with this, I don't think it's going to be too terribly deadly or too terribly problematic, but in hardcore, when you can graze someone for a kill, that might be a little bit irritating here, where one or two stray bullets can lead to that kill and the majority of your player may be still concealed. That might be a bit annoying here at this. Though, again, I can't make any judgment until I personally see this in action, but I will say that one thing that we do have to kind of consider is map designs here at this. What's somewhat deceiving about this campaign gameplay is that all these buildings and campaign levels are designed to be that tight sort of funnel to push you along the narrative, a kind of free-form but given path, kind of allowing you to explore a little bit, but ultimately putting you in the same narrative direction the game is supposed to take you. We don't often see that happen within multiplayer. We don't often see these super tight buildings and corridors and rooms in multiplayer as much as we do in campaign. We probably won't see a room big enough for just 2 character models in the multiplayer. We probably won't see a map like the townhouse mission for Modern Warfare, super tight and clustered. So while it looks incredibly accurate where Polina pops up into the blind fire mechanic and a soldier's running towards that tight doorway, when barriers and cover debris start to be placed like 5 to 10 times further away, I think that's where you're going to see the accuracy go out the window entirely. I don't know how on point that will be, but just some kind of level design perspective to consider, because again, I don't quite like the idea of this initially, but I also don't think that we can accurately gauge it just from this super tight and close quarters gameplay. One thing that I will say though that is kind of annoying to consider is that I almost guarantee this is going to be a camo challenge criteria. Get like 50 blind fire kills or something with a weapon, and please, Sledgehammer, please don't do that, man. Mounting kills were the death of me. I hated playing like that. I hated having to slow down my playstyle to get camo challenges done. Don't put us through that. I think I can speak for the majority of players here, maybe. We really don't want that kind of challenge again. But anyways, outside of that, we really only got to see a little bit again of the world here. The Stalingrad level will probably be sometime earlier in the campaign, setting up what was the motive for Polina becoming this sniper that she becomes in the campaign as well. But artistically, you can tell the game is on the Modern Warfare 19 engine, or a modified version of the Modern Warfare 19 engine. And for me, I'm cool with that. I think that fluidity-wise, it was a great step forward in the overall mechanics of the game, even though there were gimmicky things like doors and such that were added. But I think this is going to feel smooth and fluent by comparison to maybe a Cold War style of gameplay, but also art design-wise, it doesn't seem to take away from some of the core stuff we've seen from Sledgehammer in the past. It still, to me, looks like a Sledgehammer game, but more so built from the ground up on a different engine. So some slight subtle differences perhaps, but that's where we're at with this here. Want to let you guys know about what was going on here from Gamescom and opening night live today and catch you guys up to speed with this. Of course, we do have the alpha coming this weekend for PlayStation users, so make sure you stick it here for all of that. Make sure you stick it here on the channel, but that's it. That's where we're going to wrap it up. I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of this here? Are you looking forward to anything campaign-wise, anything gameplay mechanic-wise, whatever the case may be? Let me know your thoughts down below. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below, and of course, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Vanguard, anything COD related. We got you covered here on the channel. There's going to be so much stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks, so make sure you stick it here so you don't miss a single thing. That said, if you also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get content on YouTube. Probably live on both those. So if you guys want to check out conversation, ask me a question, whatever the case may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.